Okay, I think we're ready to get started. Welcome, everybody. Epchilasi, welcome, everyone. And thank you for joining us here in Fredericton, and also in St. John, and also online. I want to extend a special thank you to esteemed Wabanaki elders and Shubenacadie residential school survivors who will be sharing their stories with us today. I'd also like to welcome the drummers and dancers who will be sharing their gift of song and dance with us this morning. I'm now going to invite River Sapier, who will do a land acknowledgement.
Nodaliwas Pizuniginap. It means medicine warrior. Golzikolpin Yud, Askami, Tabeltamolted, Gitakni Guma, Walastakawig, Digadamanich, Adasi Giskok Nidlayage. We welcome you to the unceded homeland of our people of the beautiful and bountiful river Walastak. Let us protect our homeland every day. May that be the truth.
We're going to begin the ceremony by playing the Willistok Honor Song. If you're able, please stand and direct your attention to the screen.
Supe Kelmia te.
Leowen, thank you. Thank you to Angie Ackwin, Judy Ackwin, Miksovsky, Sarah Francis, Ramona Nicholas, Natalie Sapier, and Amanda Myron. I'm now going to welcome Elder Jeannie Bardabo, the Mi'kmaq Wolastoqey Center's Elder in Residence, to provide a traditional Wolastoqey welcome, blessing, and smudge.
Kisok, wegi walali dandel mawali kiskuk, wegi walali kuchitandeligan muegula mimajohan, wegi walali kuchitan ay ankidel minek, uchitandel chikalokula, nige mimajohan. Eda wachte mai uchida bohon madi, eda wachte mai uchidam sekoy walbam yachten, eda wachte mai uchidam sekoy nige akkamukik nige mijoajisk. Dan Ciw Wasisok ahut mitwatis dan moen midahapanik. Eda wahta mai uchit dai Ciw bohan muinen uchidan kwewanan uchit kisigumi majuinuk. Ahut setan midahapanik nigeulai residential school. Mugeiru dandel wiedeman an nuiktuk. Pasnam Außerdem gegen sit, dan deel je na maar de benik, dan deel ik zwaarder de benige wissen moa, dan deel ik zwaarder de benige, dan ook los wahan, dan deel ik zwaarder de benig, dan negem, dan go ik is je om die deel dan, nu dachten, hoe je dai abohan madi, hoe je dan mooi moedig op benig, hoe je unnijig, hoe je ankweewanan, hoe je dankeman. Uchidam sekohe wa bamiachten achnamian am sekohe dan negemotin nek wa bamiachten. Eda wachte mai uchidna ahuchit mijuajish lan mo beid en middag benik. Eda wachte mai uchid negemoy. Wegi walali uchikisok uchitandeligan muyek. Uchitandeligan muyek me majuahan. I welcome you for today, and it's always an emotional day when we talk about those children that never came home. And we're here today to honor those that have survived the residential school, the system that destroyed and took away their language, their culture, their being. Knowing to and wanting to have the meaning, the belonging, and the purpose to who they are and how they were. I ask that they be watched over, and I asked the Creator to always guide us in a good way, that we continue to honor our path and to continue to show forgiveness. And I ask that we continue to be strong. And I'm very thankful and grateful that our survivors are here today to share a little bit of their experience at what had transpired over the years. So we will never forget, and that we will always be reminded the importance of who we are and how we are in our own homeland. So thank you. Walalio, I'm set no hama.
Will Allen, Elder Jeannie. Willie Exibud, Nina Deluizi Cheyenne Joseph, Nina Bilwidazwin. Good morning, my name is Cheyenne Joseph. I'm from Elsipogtog or Bear River First Nation. I'm the Bilwidazwin or Associate Vice President of Indigenous Engagement here at UNB, and I'm going to be your MC for today's events. We began this morning by permanently raising the Wabanaki Confederacy and Willistok Nation flags on the Fredericton campus. We're also planning to install new flagpoles on the St. John campus so we can fly flags at both campuses. Today we gather to commemorate the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. It's a day to pause and reflect on the historical injustices and traumas we have faced as Indigenous peoples in Canada. Today, UNB reaffirms our commitment to truth, reconciliation, and healing. Our university community has a specific role to play in the nation's commitment to reconciliation. We are centers of education, a place to foster deep understanding and cultivate a sense of social responsibility. Today, as we mark this day, I encourage you to listen and learn from survivors' stories and experiences. As you engage in meaningful discussion today in the days and the weeks to come, consider how we can collectively work towards a future where Indigenous people are prioritized and the principles of truth and reconciliation are woven into the fabric of our institutions and society. On that note, I want to draw your attention to the orange hearts located at the entrance here in Fredericton and in the room in St. John. The text on the hearts are the Willistok and Mi'kmaq words for I'm sorry. On the heart, please write your reflections about today and what it means to you. And then as members of the UNB community, please place the orange hearts in windows around campuses or your home after the ceremony today. You may also place them in the dome located here in Fredericton. Adding these hearts to our windows was an idea put forth by Indigenous elders and leaders in our UNB community. It's a gesture to honor the lives of children who never returned home, along with the families and communities who mourn the discovery of their remains. I now want to welcome Elder George Paul of Metabanagayak to share teachings and then perform the Mi'kmaq honor song. If you're able, please stand.
Walalioch dandeligen muyoch nige olaich karlo wogen. Akolagis kugnige dandel det paharem kulama widam. Ukchit dande situan waji ebola sugabenega digina mario wong. Ahna del dana tuk swadok siegen tli sudi. Atandelik tuk swadok sieg dan ultimul ultimik. Abik sik tagat chigina paskado amuch pana iljoga da teknike gisku. Ik ben nog een keer gelukkig. Dan wil ik abajadum heel nooit dan megidedem. Dan deel ik midedem dan we nog tegen. Ach dan deel maar logo tegen. Tegen bij middag. Wat je abnadeel na is ik heb ik gaan. Het wordt niet worden. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of residential school survivors and also all of the events that are happening across Canada and probably some in the United States as well as a result of residential schools and residential school experience for the survivors and also for the ones that didn't make it, the ones that passed on, all the children that were, some are still being found in unmarked graves. Also, there's many concerns about what happened to the Indigenous people in Canada as a result of government decision-making that took place since day one, since our interaction. So even though that we have treaties, even though we have a relationship and an understanding of living together, there's still things to overcome. There's many land claim issues across the country still yet, and we still maintain our identity and who we are as Indigenous people, the first people of this continent. We've been here for tens of thousands of years. Our ancestors have anyway, has brought us here tens of thousands of years ago. Our ancestors roamed this land. And to think it's only been about 600 years that change has started taking place. And the change is fast change because of technology and inventions and so on, bringing us up to the modern day where we're at today. High-speed internet and AI technology. In only a matter of 600 years, things have exploded all around the world with that technology. Still, our people believe in our ancestors' ways and teachings from thousands of years ago. Still, we practice our spiritual ceremonies. Our traditions are handed down from one generation to the next. We still carry on those traditions, and we still maintain them even through all of the change that's taking place, even in the modern day today. So we are a proud nation, we are a proud people, and we want to be accepted as a human family. Nothing more, nothing less, just to be part of this world in the way that the Creator has given us as a human family. They say there's 4 basic colors of man: red, white, yellow, and black. But we are the human family. We interact with each other, we socialize with each other, and that's why we have mixed breed, mixed cultures as a result of it. We're a human family. We can do that. And there's others that we live beside. There's many teachings that we talk about. When we say the 7 sacred teachings, we involve all the birds, fish, plants, and animals that we coexist with. We need those birds, fish, plants, and animals. Without them, we can't survive. The birds, fish, plants, and animals. Something that's, you look down at your plate every day when you go to eat. There's on your plate is either a bird, a fish, a plant, or an animal. Otherwise, your nutritional level is going to drop right down. You need those. So that's why we plant gardens, lots of gardens. All around the world, there's gardens to feed the whole country. Big farms, huge farms, and they farm animals as well. But what I'm talking about is like our ancestry here, our ancestors, our traditional values. We lived in harmony with nature. We didn't have to change anything. Tens of thousands of years, we lived in harmony with nature. We didn't have to change it. We lived in harmony with it. Why change it if there's nothing broken, if everything's working well, why change it? If we were all about technology and everything, we'd probably been in flying saucers and flying around the world for tens of thousands of years. in changing on a daily basis. And in a matter of 600 years, you'll see some of that happening right now because of fast changing technology. People want to get into flying saucers and fly out in space. It's an irony, I suppose, but we've always been down to earth. There is only one place in this whole universe where we can all live, and that's here in what we call Mother Earth. You can't live out in space. It wasn't meant to be that way. You can try, of course, but I mean, they made many movies about it. I enjoy a lot of those movies, but you can't live out in space. It's not made that way. We're born here in Mother Earth. So the more we can focus and understand the beauty of our creation here in Mother Earth, the more that we can understand each other, the more that we can relate to each other in a manner that the Creator wants us to understand. You know, everything's divided into four: north, south, east, and west. Winter, spring, summer, and fall. 4 spirit guides. 4 sacred medicines that we use: cedar, sage, sweetgrass, and tobacco. 4 basic colors of man. We are the human family. And the sooner we understand each other and the sooner that we work together, hand in hand, that's when we can find peace and harmony in the world. And I think that's the path we should be on, looking towards peace and harmony in the world, in all of the world. And these things that have been exposed now, we call 94 calls to justice. Indigenous people have been abused, you know, since the first encounter. Sent to residential schools, abused there, abused in every part of the system. And we should have been included at the table, at least, the welcome table. You know, to sit in part of educational institutions before we should have had a chair there to make decisions for all our people. We're still trying to get a voice in there. All it needs is just willingness on the part of the government, the leaders, to make things happen. And this is a result of what the Canadian government is doing right now. This Orange Shirt Day and all the events that are happening, the government was taken to task on its own and found itself guilty on all the damages that it caused to Indigenous people. They did a Royal Commission study starting in the 80s, and this is what came out. And so the government had to respond, and this is how they responded: reconciliation. The Reconciliation Act, to restore some of the things that has been done wrong and put things in a better place. This is why we're here. For all the survivors and for all the ones who have passed on in the abuses of residential schools and throughout history. But we are coming to a place now where we're starting to help with that change and that reconciliation. It's both sides. We have to reconcile. We have to find forgiveness in our hearts and go forward. And so we're looking for a better place in our hearts and minds to honor and respect who we are as a people. And this is why this song is so important. Now, this song came to me as a result of fasting in Kootenay Plains, Alberta. But what I was fasting for was not for the song. I was fasting for a better understanding of spirituality and what can I do to help my people. And I was at a loss, so I started crying. And I cried all day. I cried till I couldn't cry anymore. I was just wailing. When I was done my fast, I went to see an elder. He told me to go in a sweat lodge with him. Went in there with a number of others who were fasting as well. And he said, George, you have a song to sing. Sing a song. I didn't know exactly what he meant at the time, because there are a lot of native songs that we sang. But he said, well, it'll come to you. And it did. About a year later, a blind man came from Nova Scotia to a sweat lodge in Eelground and wanted me to help him learn more about ceremonies, fasting, and everything else like that, because the other two elders were busy with other things. And I said, sure, I'll help you out. He said, in the second round of that sweat lodge, he said, you have a song to sing, don't you? You have to sing that song for your people. And right there, he just reminded me of that event I had in Kootenay Plains, Alberta, and why I was crying. It was because our people were living in misery a lot of times because of alcohol and drug abuse and family violence. It was taking over the communities. People seemed like they had no hope. What can we do to help that? And the words just came right there, because this is what we need. And when our people hear this, they know it touches them, because this is our medicine. This is what we need. We have to honor who we are. No more disrespect for each other or anything like that. We have to help one another. And that's what the song says. Help one another in the manner that the Creators is given here upon Mother Earth. So you can sing along if you know the song. Give me the manage, don't tell no thing, nigga much told my we done it. Give me the manage, don't worry back so thing, nigga much told abahona madultinde, hey abahon madultinde, stan giso teligal luxi ola sit hambo, hey hey. Give me dead manage, don't tell no thing, nigga much told my we done it. Give me dead manage, don't worry back so much told abahona madultinet, hey abahon madultinet, stan giso teligaluk sigo ulo sit hammo, hey 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 oh hey oh hey oh hey the chant, just the chant. Now, this chant is me crying. That's where the song came from, was me crying, okay? And to gain honor and respect for each other now, dig down inside yourself and sing along, and share this song. Now I'm gonna do it slow first. Way oh way ah ya way oh hey hi ya hey hi ya way oh hey hi ya way oh hey hi ya hey hi ya way oh hey hi ya hey. Okay, that little pause that I'm doing there, I'm listening to see if you're singing along. Okay, you don't have to be shy. It's okay now. You can sing really loud, all right? It's recess time. You go outside, you can holler. Way oh way ho yo way oh hey hi ya 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 hey. A little louder than that. Way oh yo way oh hey hi ya hi ya way oh hey 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 hi ya hey. Okay, so they call it participation. So we're going to go really loud for one last time. Way oh yo way oh hey hi ya 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 hey. Oh, everybody raise your hands and say Tahoe. All right, thank you very much.
Bilal and Elder George. Please welcome next Elder Dorothy Paul from Medabanagia, who will share her stories of residential school.
Medaloltiach, Nogamach, Megadaweligiskag, Giskuk, Chilla Mabiomi, Nina Dorothy Medalusi, Medabanagiach Leowi, ang residential school wajiab sa Benegadik. Magistiaw Galusiunige. I am suffering from a very rare form of blood cancer, and every now and then I lose my voice, so I cannot continue on with what I was going to say, and I had so much to say, but George and I, my brother, George and I were both in residential school, so we have the same experience. We are second-generation survivors. My father and his siblings were all in residential school from 1938 to 46. And we were there, we were part of the 60 scoop. But I will let George continue on because I am losing my voice. But I thank you all for being here, for remembering the children of these schools.
Yeah, my father was there. My uncles were there too. There's a lot of people from our community, and I know there's many communities all across the Atlantic region that went to the Shubenacadie Residential School. And most of them have passed away now. There's few survivors left. We do meet once in a while, and to talk about, what we can do as survivors to bring that knowledge out there to the rest of the public. The public must know. The public doesn't really know a lot about what happened in those residential schools, what we went through. There's a lot of things that are coming out now as a result of that. And there's a lot of people that are at work all across the country bringing the stories forward. And I don't know if you've seen that one called Bones of Crows. There's a film that's out there right now. It's about residential schools. A very beautiful presentation that speaks the truth of what happened, during the first residential school children that were brought to those residential schools and how they were abused. It puts to light, the cruelty that can happen when power goes into somebody's head and they can manipulate and do things the way they want to do without any challenge, anybody stopping them. I think that's really the core part of the abuse. They were allowed to go ahead and do those things. Nobody stopped them. Although the churches were responsible, they didn't do anything, they covered it up. Though the government was responsible, they would hide it and not talk about it. And the ones that suffered at the end of that were the children that went there, the families torn apart. I didn't know my father went there until he mentioned that. And he thought maybe it was going to be a good thing for us to go there. At least we would be safe from other predators that came into the reserve and take advantage of the people. And a lot of times, that wasn't a good sight. All the alcoholism that was going on, and you can't call the police. There was no police around anywhere. You had to call the RCMP, which was probably in Fredericton somewhere. By the time they got there, you'd be dead. So they kind of left us out there to be taken advantage of. Times did change, and as time changed, all these things were addressed. We had our own police in our own community. In fact, I wound up being part of it myself. Went to Holland College with my cousin, Frankie Ciw, and we were the police officers on the reserve there for a while. I mean, I was on for a bit. I wasn't on for a long time. though he stayed on until the police, the RCMP set up an office across the river in Sunny Corner. So we didn't need the policing on the reserves anymore. RCMP was taking over that end of it. Though we need policemen, to keep down the violence and the troubles and stuff like that, sometimes it was the policemen who did the damages. And where do you go when the policemen are the ones that are causing harm? Who do you turn to? And you have to, maybe your leadership. And when your leadership gets that way, where do you go? As people in the community, you don't know where to turn to. Sometimes some people would turn to violence and take on their own. They become like a vigilante, take on their own justice. You're not going to get justice from where you should be getting it from the leadership in that way. So all of these have been addressed now. The murdered and missing women across the country. Some of those murdered and missing women, were murdered at the hands of RCMP officers. That's been a proven fact. So, this abuse that we're talking about, it's just not saying it just for the sake of saying it. It has happened. There is proof there. There's evidence. But somebody has to be taken to task on it. And I'm glad we are at where we're at today with making this public, and the public getting involved and sharing and helping along by being supporters for all the residential school survivors and the abuses that Indigenous people have suffered throughout the years. We are victims. I went to the residential school. I was there for 5 years. My sister, Dorothy May, and there's 8 of us in the family. 7 of us went there. And we all went through certain kind of abuses. And some suffering because you have to deal with it in your mind and try to reconcile that with yourself and go forward. Fortunately for myself, I kept my language. When I went there, I couldn't speak a word of English. I couldn't speak a word of English. And all the kids that are on the boys' side that come over, they're all saying, "No guy, no guy." And in Mi'kmaq, that word "no guy" means I'm on fire. No guy. I was like looking around, who's on fire? But it meant there's a new person now to the membership. I didn't understand. I only spoke Mi'kmaq. But they told me you're going to have to speak English, whether you like it or not. Or you're going to get this, and they had a big stick, and they beat you with that stick. And they had a leather strap with a piece of metal on the end of it, and that hurt when they beat you with that, like one of those big horse straps or whatever it was. The beating that we went through, it wasn't like, well, put out your hand, I'm going to hit you a little bit. It wasn't like that. They jumped off their feet and came down really hard, almost trying to go through your hand. And if you pull your hand to it, they're going to add on another one. So some of those kids I saw when they were getting the beating, their hands were black and blue all the way up almost to their elbows. And crying till they couldn't, they're almost losing their breath because trying to keep crying. You see that's traumatizing too, to even see that. And they did that publicly in front of all the other kids so that you wouldn't do the same or make the same mistakes. And we were only like 7 or 8 years old. You're being traumatized like that. But we overcome that as time went on, we grow out of it, I guess. We've grown to be used to it. I spoke really good English after a while. When I came home, my mother told me to get my father down the river because supper's ready. So I went down there and I found down there, there's a lineup and they were fishing there. And I said, Dad said, Mom said, supper's ready. And there was another native guy beside him, said, Greg, is that your son? He said, yeah, he speaks very good English. He said, where did you learn that? He said, he learned that in Shubenacadie. And then when I realized that right there, I said, I'm Mi'kmaq. I should be speaking my language. So because everybody back then was still speaking the language, I spoke it as much as possible, and I relearned it all to the point now today I'm a language teacher. I teach language online. For MTI, I teach language for the band, and people online who want to learn online. I help with translations. I work with Dave and Imelda here, and thanks for Dave and Imelda for keeping me on with the elders' work to help with translations and stuff. So I try to emphasize and tell other people that you should be proud of who you are, proud of your culture, and never give up in spite of all the suffering that we've gone through. We're given an opportunity. This is an open door to express our opinion on who we are as Indigenous people. And I thank each and every one of you for having an open ear today and listening to us. On behalf of my sister, Dorothy May, and my family, thank you. Thank you very much. Walalioch means thank you all very much. Walalioch.
Walal, Elder Dorothy and Elder George for the courage to tell their stories today. I'm going to direct your attention to the screens where we have Elder Vaughn Nicholas from Tobic First Nation, who will share reflections as a survivor and Willistok elder.
I'll start telling my story. I probably won't go through everything, but I'll go through the important parts. June 16, 2010. Vaughn Nicholas's experience at Shubenacadie Indian Residential School. First, let me give a brief history of myself. I was born at the Tobic Reserve, April 15, 1947. I was the second oldest of 5 children of Louis and Veronica Bonnie DeVoe. I have a little memory of my real early childhood. I do remember the loss of my sister Mona and my brother Roger, who died of spinal meningitis in the early 1950s, a month apart. I remember going to school in Tobic for grade 1. The language used at home was Malseet. And my home life was a happy life. I don't recall any bad incidents at home. And there was lots of laughter, you know what I mean? We were poor, you know what I mean? But there was lots of love and laughter. I don't remember getting spanked till I attended the Indian day school. Okay, there was 3 of us. There was 3 of us left at home. Wayne, the oldest, me, the second oldest, and Iris, the youngest. My mom had to go to a sanatorium in St. Basil. My dad was working at Lawrence Air Force Base in Limestone, Maine. Around this time period, I remember being taken care of by my grandmother, Mom. We as kids must have been too much to handle for her, as she was an elderly person. Then I remember being taken care of by my Uncle Pete and Aunt Jeanette for a while. They also had a big family and had a hard time taking care of another 3 kids to look after. Then we went to stay with our Aunt Gulkum, who was widowed with her 4 children, and which eventually was too much for her. Yeah, and I found it quite difficult adjusting to the Indian day school with the nuns in Tobic. All this time, from I was told later that year, my dad was drinking a lot and not taking care of us properly. I guess the year 1955, there were complaints about his drinking. It was then the authorities, the government and the chief and council and the Indian agent decided that he was unable to take care of us, and they gave orders to have us sent to Ciw Indian Residential School. Well, we did not know that we were going to be sent away. I remember my dad and Uncle Tony driving us to Ciw, Nova Scotia. We thought we were going on a trip, a very long one at that. It took forever to get there. We got there in the pitch of darkness at night. We all walked up the stairs of this massive building. We were met by the priest and a nun. I started getting scared. My sister Iris was already clinging to my father, not wanting to go with the nun. The hallways were empty. I heard the door open there and another nun walking towards us. The sound of her footsteps echoing in the big empty hall was really frightening and scary. More so for my sister, Iris. My dad was talking to the priest and nun. Meanwhile, we were being taken away. Before that, taken away, he had come to see us, said goodbye, and then we had to stay. And we were being taken away, Iris to the girls' side, and Wayne and I to the boys' side. We all started crying, and we were, as we were taken away and seeing our dad walking away from us and going out the building. We no longer were just crying. We were screaming for our dad not to leave us. Iris at this time was hysterical, trying to get away from the nun and to get to our dad. I'll never forget her screams that night, that we saw our dad leaving the building. So Iris was taken to the girls' side, and Wayne and I were taken to the boys' side. We were not separated very long. The nun came to get Wayne and I to try to calm her down, but there was no way she would calm down. So we ended up sleeping in the big dormitory that night. Iris eventually cried herself to sleep in the early hours of the morning. We also fell asleep and got woken up by a girl who was also malnourished, but we did not know that at that time. When Iris saw her, she started crying and screaming because of her face. She was scabby all over. A nun showed up and took Wayne and I back to the boys' side. And that was the last contact that we had for a while, seeing Iris. I would see her in the chapel, in the eating area. I would try to make contact her by trying to talk to her and by waving to her, We were all going for our breakfast. We were on the boys' side. Iris was coming out the girls' side. I seen her just, "Hi, how you doing?" Bang, right across the face. Here, "You're not supposed to talk to those girls. You get back there," and stuff like that, And here's my sister, We just got to recently got to Ciw, and we had a happy life, fun life in Tobic. But when we got to Ciw, You know, I couldn't even say hi or talk to her. And then Wayne and I started getting processed. Should be haircuts. They look like they had a bowl on our head and then cut it all the way across there, stuff like that. And they cut all the way around. And then we got disinfected. You know, holy crimps. We got in the shower there, and then they put all this stuff on us, eh? Holy Christ, I was burned, crying. We were crying, you know, stuff like that, eh? Because that stuff burnt. As I said earlier, our first language was Maliseet, and we were definitely not fluent in English. We did have grade 1 in Tobic, and we started to learn English. Wayne and I would speak Maliseet only to be heard by the nun, and we got strapped and for speaking our language. You know, and when they strapped us, you know, they were no light straps. They were beatings, you know. They swung as hard as they could, you know, to make us kids cry, eh? And this only happened to young kids, you know what I mean? The first ones when they get there. I think in about 3 years, you know, anybody said something or was out of the way, bang, you got it, you know, and not just one time, eh? You know, I'm calling this, but you know that went on through the years, you know, for the first 3 years. Yeah. So anyway, I remember Wayne having gotten sick and could not make the toilet, eh? The nun was yelling at Wayne for messing his pants and making him cry. I said to the nun, he's the best, not knowing how to say diarrhea in English. Then she starts yelling at me, what are you saying? And then starts slapping me, stuff like that, and hitting me, and told me not to speak Indian, you know. And I said, as young and newer boys, Wayne and I were put into a big dormitory, 45 beds on the top floor, 4th floor. One night, as we were going to bed, changed into our nightgowns, said our prayers, lights went out, the nun leaves, the door closes by the stairs. All is quiet for about 10 minutes. Then I heard 2 boys talking for a few minutes. All of us talking for a few minutes. All of a sudden the lights come on. Here comes the nun rushing towards the boys, you know, that were talking. She must have zoned in on the right ones. She told them to lay across their beds, lift their nightgowns, and started hitting them as hard as they could on their bare asses. The screams and the hollowings from both them I'll never forget. Bang, 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 10 times each, and she wouldn't let up, you know. And these kids, holy jeez, they're well, when I heard that scared the hell out of me. I did not want any part of that. After that incident, I tried to stay out of trouble, which was impossible to do. As many as 70 to 80 boys were there through the year. You got picked on, shoved, beaten up on. Yeah. Another incident I had with a nun was when I was in grade 2. Well, the first year I was there, 1955. I believe there was 3 or 4 of us standing, talking by the door of the classroom. Somebody said something. The nun was at her desk already when I said, "Holy cow!" And I could hear the chair move, and I saw her coming, walking briskly towards me. I thought nothing of it, till she got to me and slapped me right across the face, you know, quite hard. And I said to her, all I said was, "Holy cow," and then came another slap, even harder, this time making me cry. She said, cows are sacred in certain parts of this world. It's like taking the Lord's name in vain. How does an 8-year-old from Tobic First Nation reservation know about cows being sacred? This was another example of the nuns' excessive force to us little children, little Indian children. The church and its people, the priests, brothers, nuns, to the general public are portrayed as loving, caring, and helping the people in need or in desperate situations. In the case of Indian residential schools, they were working for the government of Canada, and they did their jobs well. And that was to take away our language and culture.
Thank you, Elder Vaughn. Oh, is it on? Thank you, Elder Vaughn, for your courage to tell your story also. Next, I'm going to welcome Paul J. Masrol, President and Vice Chancellor of UNB, to share a few words about UNB's path to reconciliation.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Good morning, everybody. UNB is very fortunate to have Cheyenne as our Burley Wiederhausen. She's doing a terrific job. So good morning. I want to begin by thanking the elders for sharing their powerful stories, Elder Vaughn, Elder George. And these are horrific and harrowing stories that we need to hear. Listening to these stories helps us to better understand the impact that this tragic time in Canada's history had on you, on your families, and your communities. By listening to these stories, we're able to pause, reflect, and acknowledge the difficult truth. It is important that we build and maintain a safe space to share these stories, to raise awareness, and to allow for authentic reflections. I'm indeed honored to be here today and to recognize UNB's commitment to truth and reconciliation. Our UNB community is indeed very fortunate to have the elders supporting us, leaders, including members of the Mi'kmaq Center, and of course our Billy Wiederhausen, who guide us and guide our university on a path toward truth and reconciliation. They help us, guide us in the organization of powerful events, such as today, that allow us to reflect and to learn and to move forward as a university community. 8 years ago, in 2015, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission released 94 calls to action to redress the legacy of residential schools and to advance the process of reconciliation. As a university community, many of the calls to action are impactful, as education will play a leading role in reconciliation. Our responsibility to respond to them has guided our vision for the future and the university community we desire to become, connected to community with community. We are working to find and remove barriers to education to help close the educational attainment gap and to support a greater understanding of Indigenous ways of thinking and knowing on our campuses in our communities. In 2018, with the guidance of Elders David and Imelda Purley, we developed UNB's Truth and Reconciliation Strategic Action Plan. When we look at the plan today, we see we've made some progress, but there is still a great deal more work to be done, and we're committed to do it. And we are very grateful to have the guidance of the Council of Elders and our Billy Wiederhausen as we continue that important work. As Cheyenne mentioned this morning, we raised the Wabanaki Confederacy and the Willistic Nations flags earlier this morning, and those flags will now fly every day on our Fredericton campus and then next year on our St. John campus. The flags serve as an acknowledgement that both our campuses sit on traditional Wolastoqey land. Displaying the flags is one way to move forward on the commitment in our action plan and to create spaces that acknowledge our history. And we are continuing to find ways to create spaces on our campuses that acknowledge and celebrate Indigenous culture and history. UNB believes that we have a responsibility to use our skills and knowledge to do good, to make the world a better place and more just place for all of our communities, our region, and the world. And as we address challenges facing our global community, such as climate change, health, justice, poverty, etc., the UNB community will continue to ensure that we are incorporating Indigenous ways of thinking and knowing into the work we do as a university community. So while we continue to listen and learn, we know we must continue to move toward reconciliation. We must continue to make progress on the plans, remain committed, and to see them through. We have to continue to commit and continue to take action as a community. So I want to close by thanking all of you for joining us here today and to listen and learn from the wisdom of our elders. We would not be here this morning if it weren't for our elders sharing their stories. Thank you for being here. This wisdom provides very powerful insights in the ways that we continue to build bridges of understanding and to seek a greater truth. Our commitment to truth and reconciliation lies behind all that we do as a university as we commit to walking this path together, a path of greater understanding, knowledge, respect, and impact. Before I end, I do want to thank Cheyenne, Elder Jeannie, everyone from the Micmac Westaquay Center, Todd Ross, and everyone who worked to support this important event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mazeral. Next, I'm going to welcome Emily Paul, a third-year student at UNB from Pabineau First Nation, who's a member of the Indigenous Student Council.
Good morning. My name is Emily Paul, and I am a third-year undergraduate student at UNB who hails from Pabineau First Nation. Thank you for joining myself and our incredible guest this morning to honor the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. I am honored to be speaking to you today on behalf of the Indigenous student body at the University of New Brunswick. It started in 2021 with the remains of 215 children being found in unmarked graves at a former residential school site in Kamloops, British Columbia. I would like to remind you that this is more than just a number. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that each and every one of these children were innocent. Some were as young as 3 years old. These babies were forcibly taken from their families in hopes of assimilating them into a culture that was not their own. We will never hear their stories. They will never make it home. It started with 215. I cannot even give you a definite number of how many bodies have been found now as we still continue to uncover mass burial sites. I want you to think about this each and every time you see a child in your life, because this fight is not over. The only reason I am not a survivor of the residential school system is because of the year I was born. It has been only 27 years since the last residential school closed in Canada. This is not our history. We still suffer in the present. Indigenous peoples, both young and old, continue to face injustice at the hands of settlers. The disconnect between Indigenous ways of being and the ideologies of those in power is alive and well. I know firsthand that Indigenous peoples still face these acts of discrimination. While the residential schools may be closed, their legacy lives on. As said by the Honorable Justice Murray Sinclair from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, education got us into this mess and education will get us out of it. It is through days like this where we amplify Indigenous voices that we can truly begin to show allyship with these communities. I hope that we continue to have these conversations and not limit them to one out of the 365 days we have in a year. I want any young Indigenous person listening to me speak today to know that I see you. I hope that you are proud of where you come from and know that there are safe spaces out there for you to flourish in your culture. It will be okay. I hope that any allies out there know that we appreciate all that you do. There are plenty of resources out there on a multitude of platforms that help Indigenous people tell their stories, and I hope you will continue to access them. For any Indigenous student on campus looking to get involved, please know that the Indigenous Student Council has a place for you. If interested, please reach out to unbindigenous@gmail.com. We would love to meet you. Lastly, on behalf of the Indigenous population at UNB, I would like to say that we are here, we exist, and we are not going anywhere. We do not let these injustices go unnoticed and will continue to fight for those who were not given the chance to. Thank you for having me. Walalan.
Thank you, Emily. Next, I'm going to welcome Kiana Kingbird, the Wabanaki Confederacy Drummers, and Medicine Jingle Dancers. Wiliawin, Wilalin to Kiana Kingbird and the Fancy Shawl Dancers, and the Wabanaki Confederacy Drummers. Next, I'm going to welcome students from the Chief Harold Sapir Memorial Elementary School to perform the Children's Honor Song.
We're going to start with a song called Forgiveness. It was written by Richard Poulette from Escazone, and he wrote this song for his friend Alex, who went to Shubenacadie Residential School. And with his permission, it was translated by Blossom West, Melda Purley, some parts of it into Wolastoqey. song. So if we could all stand for this, that would be great.
We didn't mean to sneak two songs in, but the reason that we're doing the I'm Sorry campaign, the Muscayan, and so that song that you just heard was the forgiveness song that was, appropriate for today, but now they're going to sing the Children's Honor Song, and really proud of them to come and perform for you. They were very nervous, but their hearts are in the right place, and so thank you for, it's, as we said, this is for the children, and so today you're witnessing these children that are knowing that society isn't going to cut their braids off, society isn't going to stop them from speaking their language, and society is going to show love for them and who they are. Thank you.
Leowin. It's been my pleasure to be your MC today. As you leave the event, I remind you to place orange hearts on the dome here in Fredericton. If you may also take them home with you and place them in windows at home or at work. For those in St. John, there will be a healing walk with the city of St. John scheduled immediately following this event, and it will take place in Rockwood Park. Thank you for being here with us today to listen, learn, and reflect on this very important day. I now welcome Elder Jeannie to lead us in a closing prayer and a moment of silence.
Cikisok wegi walalik dandel mawaya kiskuk. Wegi walalik dandeligan wek dandel cikalok mima johan. Mudawandas mengenat ucit dandelia dandelia hab. Edo waktu mai ucitna ucida siaw waklok mima johan. Edo waktu mai ucit nege moina. Wegi walalik ucit dandeli modegula nege ulastuga we mahamagyo. Kan kijinu. Ucitandeu jigalok, ucitandeu jigalok mima johan. Era waktu mai ucit kiskugah nege dan nege wedai jik mima joinok dan deu jigit namadi jik dan sekohoi dan nuda abohon madi. Ucitandel jugidayo, ucitandel jik seduyek, dandel banado yo, banado nikam lamun. Ucit dandeli cik seduyek. Wegi wali ucit nege amsetan beda bani ucit lusut dijik. Ucit nege George, ucit Dorothy May, ucit Van Nicholas. Ucit dandel gelusit dan wetja ukam lamung dandeli ahab. Wegi la ali ucit na. Eda waktu mai ucit now. I and I'd just like to just filled with gratitude with everyone that came, with everyone that has shown their love, their care, and their understanding. I'm thankful for having our elders that came and spoke, Elder George Paul, Elder Dorothy May Paul, and Elder Von Nicholas, who has survived the residential school and who had opened their hearts to share their experience. I'm very thankful for all that came, the drummers, the dancers, the medicine jingle dancer, Kiana Kingbird, and Shelley Robishaw, and Abigail the Dam, our fancy shawl dancers. I'm also very honored to have seen the young girls from the Woollastuk Nation that came and sang. When I see the young ones today, and that they are sharing and speaking and singing in our language, it warms my heart to know that their generation will never have to endure what the last generation had endured. The 60 school, the Indian Day School, and how it started was with the residential school. And I am so now hopeful that our children will never have to experience that. Very grateful. And I'd like to take this time and this moment for a moment of silence, that we remember those that didn't come home, and for all the elders and survivors that are now gone, but in spirit are here with us today. Said no hama. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes our events for today. I'll remind you to put your orange hearts on the dome or take them with you and place them in a window around your home or around campus. Wilaliok.